The airport terminal was alive with the hum of activity as travelers hurried through the bustling corridors, each focused on their own journey. Families gathered near gates, business people typed furiously on their laptops, and vacationers sipped coffee from disposable cups while discussing their plans. Overhead, flight announcements echoed, blending into the background noise that defined every busy airport. Among the crowd, sitting quietly on a well-worn bench near Gate 14, was an elderly veteran. His military jacket, adorned with a few faded medals, told a story of honor and sacrifice. His posture was upright, his demeanor calm, and his eyes carried the weight of years of service and experience. While others around him scrolled through their phones or chatted with companions, the veteran seemed lost in thought, occasionally glancing up to check the departure board. He wasn't seeking attention or special treatment. In fact, most travelers passed by without giving him a second glance, their focus on their own lives. But for one man, the sight of the veteran sitting there became an opportunity to stir conflict. The man, dressed in casual but expensive clothes, appeared to be in his mid-30s. His loud voice cut through the background chatter as he stopped near the veteran's bench, his expression a mix of disdain and amusement. "Well, look at this," the man said loudly, his tone mocking. "What's the matter, old man? Can't afford a decent coat? Or are those medals supposed to make people feel sorry for you?" The veteran looked up, his expression unchanging. He said nothing, his silence a stark contrast to the man's hostility. Undeterred, the man continued, his words growing sharper. "What did you even do to earn those? Sit behind a desk and push papers while real soldiers did the work?" He laughed, glancing around to see if anyone else was amused. Nearby travelers began to take notice, their conversations faltering as they turned toward the scene. Some shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to intervene. Others watched in disbelief, their faces reflecting a mix of disapproval and unease. Yet no one stepped forward to stop the man. The veteran remained composed, his hands resting lightly on his knees. He didn't flinch at the insults, nor did he attempt to defend himself. There was a dignity in his silence that only seemed to frustrate the man further. "What, nothing to say?" the man sneered. "Figures. You probably expect everyone to thank you for your service, newsflash. Nobody cares." As the tension in the terminal grew, the mocking man seemed emboldened by the lack of confrontation. But what he didn't realize was that someone had noticed, and that someone was about to change everything. The veteran's silence in the face of the man's relentless taunts was not a sign of weakness, but of strength. He had faced greater challenges and more formidable adversaries in his lifetime. Words, no matter how cruel, could not shake the foundation of his character, forged through years of service and sacrifice. He adjusted his jacket slightly, his fingers brushing against the medals pinned to his chest. Each one represented a chapter of his life, a memory of missions completed and comrades lost. To him, these medals weren't symbols of glory or recognition. They were reminders of the lives touched by his service and the responsibility he carried long after his time in uniform had ended. As the man's taunts continued, the veteran caught the eyes of a young woman sitting nearby. She smiled at him sympathetically, her expression a mixture of respect and apology for not stepping in. The veteran offered a small nod in return, his way of saying he understood, but the man's words grew louder, his voice now a dominant presence in the terminal. "You know what's funny?" he said, pacing back and forth near the veteran. "You sit there acting all noble, but I bet you've done nothing with your life since leaving the military. Just another guy who peaked decades ago and expects the rest of us to worship him for it." The veteran took a slow, measured breath. He wasn't angry. He had learned long ago that anger rarely led to resolution. Instead, he felt a quiet sadness, not for himself, but for the man standing before him. Here was someone so consumed by cynicism and arrogance that he couldn't see the value of respect or gratitude. Around the terminal, the discomfort among the other travelers was palpable. A middle-aged man in a business suit whispered to his colleague, "Someone should say something." A mother pulled her child closer, shielding them from the unpleasant scene. Yet no one moved to intervene, each perhaps hoping someone else would step forward. The veteran's calm demeanor seemed to infuriate the man even more. "What's the matter, cat? Got your tongue?" he sneered. "Or maybe you just don't have anything to say because you know I'm right." But before the veteran could respond, or choose not to, A new voice entered the scene, cutting through the tension like a knife. Unbeknownst to the travelers in the terminal, Donald Trump was at the airport that day, waiting for a flight to a private engagement. Dressed in a sharp suit and accompanied by a small security detail, he had been sitting in a VIP lounge not far from the gate. From where he was seated, Trump had a clear view of the commotion near Gate 14. At first, he noticed the growing crowd of onlookers and assumed it was a typical airport delay or minor disruption. But as he watched, he realized the situation was far more troubling. He saw the veteran sitting quietly, the medals on his jacket glinting under the terminal's fluorescent lights. He saw the man standing in front of him, gesturing aggressively and speaking in a tone that was clearly mocking. And he saw the faces of the travelers around them, a mixture of discomfort and disapproval. Trump's expression hardened. He stood up, straightened his tie, and began walking toward the scene. His security team, caught slightly off guard, followed closely behind. As he approached, the mocking man's voice became clearer. "You think you're better than me just because you wore a uniform?" he was saying. "Get over yourself. The world doesn't owe you anything." Trump's voice rang out, firm and unmistakable. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" The man turned, his expression shifting from smugness to surprise. He hadn't expected to see Donald Trump standing behind him, his gaze sharp and unrelenting. The crowd parted slightly, making room for Trump as he stepped closer. The veteran looked up, his eyes meeting Trump's. There was a moment of unspoken understanding between the two men, a shared recognition of the sacrifices made by those who served. Trump addressed the man directly, his voice calm but authoritative. "Why are you disrespecting this veteran?" he asked. "Do you have any idea what this man has done for his country?" The man stammered, caught off guard by Trump's presence and the intensity of his gaze. I was just saying." Trump didn't let him finish. "What you were just saying," he interrupted, "was completely out of line. This man has more courage, more honor, and more dignity than you could ever hope to have." The crowd, which had grown silent in anticipation, began to murmur in agreement. A few people nodded, their faces reflecting their approval of Trump's intervention. The man tried to regain his composure, but his confidence was clearly shaken. "I didn't mean anything by it," he mumbled. "I was just joking." "There's nothing funny about disrespecting a veteran," Trump said firmly. "This man put his life on the line so people like you can enjoy the freedom to stand here and mock him. You owe him an apology." Turning away from the man, Trump focused his attention on the veteran. "Sir," he said, his tone softening, "I want to thank you for your service. This country owes you a debt of gratitude that we can never fully repay." He extended his hand, and the veteran shook it, his composure unwavering, but his eyes reflecting gratitude. Trump continued, addressing the crowd as much as the veteran. "This man represents the best of us. His sacrifice and his courage are the reason we can stand here today in peace and freedom." Trump then asked the veteran about his travel plans. Upon learning that he was on a coach flight, Trump insisted on upgrading him to first class, covering the costs personally. The crowd erupted into applause, their earlier discomfort replaced by admiration and unity. The moment became a powerful display of respect and recognition, one that left a lasting impression on everyone present. As the applause subsided, all eyes turned toward the man who had been mocking the veteran. His earlier bravado had all but disappeared, replaced by a flushed face and uneasy glances at the crowd surrounding him. The overwhelming disapproval in the room was palpable. Travelers who had initially been bystanders now glared at him, their expressions a mix of anger and disappointment. The man stammered, trying to find words to diffuse the tension. "Look, I didn't mean any harm," he mumbled, his voice barely audible over the murmurs of the crowd. "It was just a joke." Trump, standing tall and resolute, fixed him with a stern look. "A joke at the expense of someone who has served this country isn't a joke at all," he said, his voice measured but firm. "It's disrespectful and frankly, it's unacceptable. This veteran has earned your respect, not your ridicule." The crowd murmured in agreement, and several people nodded emphatically. One man in the back called out, "You should apologize." Another traveler chimed in, "Show some decency for once." The man hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the pressure mounting against him. He glanced at the veteran, who remained seated, his expression calm but unwavering. For a moment, it seemed like the mocking man might double down or attempt to justify his actions further. But the weight of the situation and the presence of Donald Trump left him with little room to maneuver. I'm sorry, he finally said, though his tone lacked genuine remorse. He turned to the veteran, avoiding eye contact. I didn't mean to disrespect you. The veteran nodded politely but said nothing, his quiet dignity once again speaking louder than any words could. The crowd, however, wasn't entirely satisfied. Some continued to cast scornful looks at the man as he shuffled awkwardly toward another gate, clearly eager to escape the spotlight. But the incident wasn't over for him. As he walked away, a few travelers followed, expressing their disapproval directly. You should be ashamed of yourself, one woman said, her voice low but sharp. That man has done more for this country than you ever will. Another added, next time, think before you speak. The mocking man's regret was etched on his face as he disappeared into the crowd. While he had offered an apology, the moment would likely linger in his memory, a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions and the power of standing up for what is right. As the scene unfolded, several travelers had instinctively pulled out their phones to record what was happening. Videos capturing Trump's confrontation with the man, his heartfelt acknowledgement of the veteran, and the crowd's reaction quickly began to circulate online. One particularly striking clip showed Trump shaking the veteran's hand, his voice resonating with sincerity as he thanked him for his service. In the background, the crowd erupted into applause, creating a powerful visual and emotional moment. The first video was posted to Twitter with the caption, "Witnessed something incredible at the airport today. A man was mocking a veteran, but Trump stepped in, defended him, and showed what real respect looks like. Our respect our veterans, as Trump steps in." The post went viral almost immediately, garnering thousands of likes, retweets, and comments within hours. Other travelers who had been at the scene began sharing their own videos and perspectives, adding to the growing momentum. Photos of the veteran sitting calmly in his military jacket, Trump standing protectively beside him, and the crowd applauding flooded social media feeds. The hashtags #RespectOurVeterans and #TrumpSteps. In began trending worldwide, drawing attention to the incident far beyond the airport terminal. Comments poured in from people across the political spectrum, many praising Trump's actions and expressing admiration for the veteran's composure. This is what leadership looks like, one user wrote, standing up for those who have given so much for our freedom. Another commented, say what you will about Trump, but this moment was powerful. Respect where it's due. The viral nature of the story also sparked broader discussions about how society treats veterans and the importance of standing up against disrespect. Advocacy groups and veterans organizations seized the opportunity to amplify their messages, using the hashtags to highlight issues such as veteran homelessness, mental health, and the need for better support systems. News outlets quickly picked up the story, running headlines like, Donald Trump defends veteran in viral airport moment. Man mocks veteran, Trump's response sparks social media frenzy. A lesson in respect, Trump steps in to confront disrespectful traveler. The combination of video footage, eyewitness accounts, and the emotional resonance of the story ensured that it continued to dominate headlines for days. The media coverage of the incident was extensive and overwhelmingly positive. Major networks dedicated segments to the story, replaying the viral videos and analyzing the significance of Trump's actions. Pundits and commentators discussed the moment as an example of leadership and the importance of defending those who serve. Whether you agree with Trump's politics or not, this was a powerful moment, one commentator said during a primetime broadcast. Standing up for a veteran in such a public way sends a strong message about respect and gratitude. The public response was equally impactful. Social media platforms were flooded with comments praising Trump for stepping in and condemning the man who had mocked the veteran. Stories of similar incidents began to emerge, with people sharing their own experiences of defending service members or witnessing acts of kindness toward veterans. However, as with any viral story, there were critics. Some questioned whether the moment was entirely spontaneous, suggesting it might have been staged. Others argued that while Trump's actions were commendable, they shouldn't overshadow the broader systemic issues faced by veterans. Despite the differing opinions, The central message of the story resonated deeply with many. Respect for those who serve is a universal value that transcends politics and personal beliefs. As the story gained traction, the veteran at the center of it found himself thrust into the spotlight. While he had never sought attention or recognition, he was grateful for the opportunity to share his perspective. In interviews with reporters, the veteran expressed his gratitude for Trump's intervention, but remained humble about the incident. "I didn't expect anyone to step in," he said. "I've faced worse situations in my life, and I'm not one to hold a grudge. But I appreciate what Mr. Trump did. It meant a lot to me, and I think to everyone who saw it." The veteran went on to reflect on his service, describing it as both an honor and a responsibility. He spoke about the camaraderie of his fellow soldiers, the sacrifices they made, and the challenges many of them faced after returning home. "It's not just about me," he said. "There are so many veterans out there who are struggling, whether it's finding a place to live, dealing with PTSD, or just trying to get by. If this moment shines a light on those issues, then I'm glad it happened." The veteran's words added depth to the story, shifting the focus from a single act of kindness to the larger struggles faced by service members. Donald Trump, never one to shy away from a media moment, used the attention surrounding the incident to deliver a powerful message. In a brief statement released through his office, he said, "Respecting our veterans isn't optional. It's a duty we all share. These men and women have sacrificed so much for our country, and it's our responsibility to stand up for them when they need it." He encouraged individuals and organizations to support veterans in their communities, calling attention to programs that provided housing, job training, and mental health services. "Small gestures can make a big difference," he said. "Whether it's donating to a veterans organization, volunteering your time, or simply saying thank you, we all have a role to play." The story of the airport encounter transcended its initial viral sensation, evolving into a powerful symbol of standing up for what is right. It resonated deeply with people across all walks of life, serving as a poignant reminder of the importance of respect, gratitude, and unity, values that seemed increasingly rare in a divided world. The incident sparked a nationwide conversation about how society treats its veterans, those men and women who have sacrificed so much to ensure the freedoms enjoyed by others. Advocacy groups quickly seized the opportunity to amplify their messages, highlighting the ongoing challenges faced by veterans, from homelessness and unemployment to mental health struggles like PTSD. Many of these organizations reported significant increases in donations and volunteer signups, with people motivated by the story to take meaningful action in their communities. Social media platforms became hubs of inspiration, flooded with messages of support for veterans and stories of ordinary citizens stepping up to honor those who had served. Hashtags like #RespectOurVeterans and #StandForService continued to trend long after the initial event, fueling a movement that united individuals across political and ideological divides. For those who had witnessed the moment firsthand at the airport, the impact was deeply personal. Travelers who had initially been bystanders found themselves reflecting on their own actions, or inactions, and how they might respond differently in the future. Many admitted that seeing Trump's decisive intervention had inspired them to be more vocal and courageous when faced with injustice. "I didn't do anything when that man was mocking the veteran," one woman later shared in a social media post that went viral. "I felt frozen, unsure of how to step in. But watching Trump stand up and take action reminded me that we all have a responsibility to speak out when something is wrong. Next time, I won't hesitate." The veteran at the center of the story became a quiet hero, a symbol of resilience and dignity. His refusal to engage with the mocking man's taunts, coupled with his gratitude for Trump's intervention, left a lasting impression on those who followed the story. In interviews, he spoke humbly about the event, often redirecting attention to the broader struggles faced by veterans as a whole. "This wasn't about me," the veteran said during a televised appearance. "It's about the thousands of veterans out there who face disrespect, indifference, and hardship every day. If this story encourages even one person to think differently or to help a veteran in need, then something good has come out of it." For Donald Trump, the incident became a defining moment in his post-presidency public image. Known for his larger-than-life persona and polarizing rhetoric, this act of standing up for a veteran showcased a different side of him, one characterized by compassion, respect, and an unyielding sense of duty to those who serve. The moment was frequently cited in conversations about his commitment to honoring veterans, with many viewing it as a reflection of his values and priorities. The event also became a teaching tool, a story shared in classrooms and community discussions as an example of the ripple effects of kindness and courage. Teachers used the incident to spark conversations with students about the importance of respect, standing up for others, and recognizing the sacrifices made by those in uniform. In the months and years that followed, the airport encounter inspired countless acts of kindness and advocacy. Individuals organized fundraisers for local veterans, businesses offered discounts and special programs for service members, and communities came together to address the systemic challenges facing their veterans. The ripple effects extended beyond the borders of the United States, with international audiences drawing parallels to their own societies and exploring ways to better honor their service members. The story also served as a reminder that even the smallest actions could have profound consequences. For many, it reinforced the idea that courage wasn't always about grand gestures. It could be as simple as stepping in to defend someone in need or showing gratitude to those who had sacrificed for the greater good. Ultimately, the legacy of the moment was far greater than the viral videos, headlines, or social media trends it inspired. It became a testament to the enduring power of integrity and compassion, demonstrating that standing up for what is right could create ripples of change that extended far beyond the immediate situation. For the veteran, it was a moment of validation and honor. For Trump, it was a defining chapter in his public narrative, showcasing his commitment to those who serve. And for the countless individuals who heard the story, it was a call to action, a reminder that respect and unity were not just ideals, but responsibilities shared by all. Years later, the story of the airport encounter continued to inspire, serving as a beacon of hope and a reminder of the impact one moment of courage could have on the world. It was a lesson in the enduring power of humanity, proving that no act of kindness, no matter how small, was ever wasted.